digitalization and AI in agriculture, driving efficiency and productivity. You'll see in your link that there's a chat function. Please put your questions in the chat. If we can address them during the webinar, we will. Otherwise, be assured that you will get responses from us and the panel in due course. Let me first introduce our speakers. We have Ms. Gladys Morales, who is the Global Head of Innovation at IFAD. She leads the design and implementation of innovation initiatives and partnerships that positively impact poor rural people. She's also the regional ambassador in Italy of the Global Blockchain Business Council. Before joining IFAD, Gladys led digital transformation in multilateral development banks and UN agency projects in Latin America, Asia, and Europe. She worked for the International Poverty Reduction Center in China, where she led the design of digital platforms and established a global poverty reduction and inclusive growth portal. She's a graduate from the Executive Program on Digital Business Leadership at Columbia Business School, with a Masters of Science in Development, Economics, and International Cooperation from the University of Rome, and a BSc in Foreign Service and International Economics from Georgetown University. Our second panelist is Marika de Ruyter de Wild, the founder of Open Food Chain, a blockchain-based traceability solution for transparent and sustainable food systems. With over 25 years of experience in ag tech and digitalization, she's worked in more than 50 countries, driving innovation in farm data and supply chain technology. Her career spans leadership roles in tech-driven agri-food enterprises, Wageningen University, and the UN, where she's played a key role in shaping the future of digital ag. As a board member of the World Agriculture Forum, Marika is dedicated to utilizing tech to create more efficient and resilient food systems. Our third panelist is Dr. Hulud Ode. She is the Global Director of Digital and Data of the CGIAR, and she brings a unique blend of education, IT organization leadership, change stewardship, and a deep understanding of global and local sustainability challenges. A thought leader on digital innovation for impact, she successfully led mission-driven organizations, transformative digital strategies and roadmaps that build organizational resilience, align with their priorities, contribute to sustainable growth and increase agility and accelerate innovation. Before joining CGIAR, she spent 18 years in executive IT leadership roles in national and international organizations, including technology and data science and CIO at the Urban Institute. She's been with the Grameen Foundation, CHF International, and worked with USAID-funded activities in more than 40 countries, mainly in the technical aspects of program impact assessment, monitoring, evaluation, and performance reporting systems. She has a PhD in information technology and engineering from George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, a master's in strategic leadership towards sustainability from Sweden, an MSc from the American University in Washington, D.C., and a BSc in computer science from the University of Jordan in Amman. And finally, my fourth panelist, Mr. Hassan Halawi, is an experienced leader in the agricultural sector, deeply committed to advancing sustainable food security through practical innovation and technology. As the CEO of Elite Agritech Division, he oversees agricultural development initiatives across the Europe, Middle East, and Africa regions, ensuring adoption of technology and digital transformation within the organization. He's a graduate of agricultural engineering from the American University of Beirut. Hassan began his career in Africa, where he gained hands-on experience in large-scale farming operations. He then transitioned to the UAE, where he focused on integrating new technologies into agricultural systems, to address regional challenges. Hassan regularly shares his insights at international and regional fora, including the COP16 in Riyadh, Expo 2020 in Dubai, Vision France in Paris, and other gatherings. He's gathered a lot of experience in data management and information security, with certification in data protection with GDPR compliance. This has enabled him to bridge that gap between agriculture's operational needs and emerging digital tools, using data-driven approaches to enhance production capabilities and decision-making. To start our program, I'd like to ask Hassan, could you spend 5 minutes or so, please, setting the scene for us today in the area of digitalization and AI applications in agriculture? Hassan.
Yeah, with pleasure, with pleasure. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure. Are you able to hear me properly?
Yes.
Excellent. It's a pleasure to be here at the World Agriculture Forum and discuss the transformative power of digitalization and AI in agriculture. An innovation that's reshaping how we produce food worldwide. In recent years, we have witnessed remarkable strides in digitalization and AI, which has fundamentally changed our agriculture practices. Today, technologies such as mobile-based advisory services, remote sensing, digital marketplaces are no longer concepts. They are transforming the daily lives of farmers around the globe. We have seen numerous success cases in the market today that highlight the potential of these technologies. Startups and established companies alike have demonstrated that when digital tools are correctly applied, they can significantly boost yields, optimize resource use, and reduce environmental impacts. Initiatives that are leveraging the AI-driven analytics to predict market trends or assess soil health are proving their worth, delivering tangible benefits to the farmers. These advancements not only create efficiency, but also open up new revenue streams by connecting farmers to broader and more dynamic markets. Across the globe, the pace and style of agri-tech adoption vary significantly. So in North America, we see large-scale commercial operations and robust investments in precision farming and data analytics are driving rapid innovations with the likes of John Deere supporting it. South America, especially Brazil and Argentina, has embraced technologies like remote sensing and digital advisory services to help farmers tackle, eliminate variability, and optimize yields. In Europe, we see a unique blend of high-tech solution with century-old sustainable practices, ensuring that innovation aligns with tradition. Notably, in developing countries such as India and Bangladesh have emerged as hubs for agri-tech innovation as well. Here, technology is making significant inroads among an aging farming population where mobile-based advisory services, precision tools, and digital marketplaces not only boosting productivity, but also addressing critical challenges like resource management and climate resilience. These digital platforms are increasingly essential, especially in regions where traditional farming methods are under pressure from demographic shifts and environmental challenges. Despite these promising developments, agri-tech penetration remains relatively slow compared to sectors like healthcare and fintech, where digital transformation has disrupted the industry, driving growth and attracting investments. This slower adoption is due to several persistent challenges like illiteracy, limited digital infrastructure in rural areas, high initial cost on smallholder farmers, and a need for solutions that are tailored to local farming practices. However, we are also witnessing some alarming cases of failure that are not limited to the developing world. We all heard last week the case of Mineral, which is at one point was a very promising project that attracted significant attention and investment from Google. Despite the early optimism, Mineral became a casualty of high expectation and complex market realities, leading to its eventual exit from the market. Similarly, ventures like AeroFarm has faced significant setbacks where initial enthusiasm was dampened by the challenges of operation scalability and sustainable revenue models. These examples remind us of the even most innovative ideas must overcome fundamental issues of market adoption, financial viability, and strategic alignment with the agriculture community and the needs of the capital market appetite. The nature of the agriculture industry itself adds another layer of complexity. We are at a critical juncture where food security and food shortage concerns are intensifying, yet the industry struggles to deliver consistent, attractive returns for both the farmers and the investors alike. The risks are high: climate change, fluctuating commodity prices, unpredictable market dynamics all contribute to the challenging investment landscape. To accelerate adoption on a larger scale, we must focus on several strategic revenues, such as enhancing digital infrastructure, tailored solution to diverse regions, collaborative ecosystem, and capacity building. I'd also like to highlight the remarkable contribution his position as a leader in the agri-tech space, supported by government mandate and the leadership vision and funding. With significant investment from the tech local companies like G42, AI71, the UAE is accelerating the development of its AI industry and pioneering applications in agriculture. A notable milestone is the development of the first agriculture-specific large language model in collaboration with the Gates Foundation, a groundbreaking tool designed to address global challenges faced by farmers to deliver tailored insights to improve crop management and sustainability. The persistent challenge in agriculture underscored the urgent needs for innovation, scalable solution, and not only improve productivity, but also stabilize secure food supplies for the future, making it more imperative that we innovate and adapt. Although the sector has struggled to deliver consistent return for investors, the untapped potential for agri-tech presents a lifeline for the agriculture industry as a whole. By harnessing digital tools and data-driven insight, we have the opportunity to create more resilient global food system that not only boosts productivity, but also secure sustainable
I think the
supplies for future
connection of
generations.
Hassan is a bit scrambled. Maybe it helps if you turn off your camera to save
Sure,
bandwidth.
sure. I hope it's better now.
Your voice has been fine, Hassan. It's just that your picture is frozen sometimes.
Okay. All right. So I'm almost done. As we look ahead, it's clear the collaborative approach is essential. Agri-tech companies, policymakers, investors, and the farming community, I think, just like the panel over here, should work together to address these hurdles. We need to reimagine a business model that better aligns with the reality on the ground, invest in capacity building for farmers, and foster an ecosystem where technological advancement can be both sustainable and profitable. And I look forward to the rest of the panel with the fellow panelists.
Thank you very much, Hassan.
Thanks.
And it's not just you with bandwidth issues. I'm in Europe and I too have bandwidth issues. But I think next time you speak, maybe keep your video off.
All right.
Though you look fine now. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much for that scene setting with a lot of technologies, a mention of risk, and concerns around access to technologies. Could I ask Gladys, your response or comments to the scene setting and your individual perspective? Gladys, over to you.
Jackie, thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation. And of course, Hassan, thank you for providing the background for this dialogue. I would like to start by emphasizing something that Hassan made very clear in his setting the scene speech, which is digitalization and AI are really transforming the world that we live in. And this is particularly interesting in agriculture. But for smallholder farmers, the challenge isn't about just technology. It's about ensuring that these technologies remain affordable and are inclusive and relevant to the needs of small-scale farmers. At IFAD, we are investing in farmer-centric digital solutions through initiatives like AgroWeb3, which is a universal protocol to make digital wallets and the technologies that are embedded in these digital wallets affordable and accessible to small-scale farmers. We also invest in identifying, testing, and scaling up AI solutions that can deliver results for rural development and for agriculture, ensuring that the smallholder farmers, women, and youth are at the center of the digital transformation. AgroWeb3, as I was saying before, is IFAD's digital public good. We are developing this in a partnership with the Inter-American Development Bank, and is powered by the Inter-American Development Bank's flagship blockchain platform called LagChain, which is already serving more than 9 million people in 23 countries in Latin America. AgroWeb3 embeds some of the principles in which IFAD believes in, which is it is open, it is a blockchain-powered ecosystem designed to provide smallholder farmers with financial inclusion, transparent supply chains, and direct market access. By integrating machine learning, satellite imagery, and blockchain, AgroWeb3 is also helping farmers to verify compliance with sustainable standards, access finance, and secure fair pricing. A key focus is enabling farmers to comply.
I think we've lost Gladys. Give her 5 seconds to see if she comes back on.
Remain such. AgroWeb3 is closely linked to the Jeff 8 Market Access Window Grant. This is a collaboration that we have with Jeff, which supports digital solutions that help farmers meet regulatory requirements, access to premium markets, and also to promote sustainability. Through other grants, we're also identifying, testing AI-driven solutions for small-scale farmers in agriculture, such as predictive analytics for weather and soil conditions, automated advisory services, and AI-enhanced supply chain management. These innovations, combined with AgroWeb3 blockchain and the identity verification capabilities, can provide the smallholder farmers with reliable and real-time support. For us, it's also really, really important that we support market access and AI-powered finance. So we also support investments in AI-powered platforms built on decentralized infrastructures like AgroWeb3, connect farmers directly with buyers, reducing dependency, and of course, additional costs created by intermediaries. These technologies, of course, if implemented as digital public infrastructures, where we work not only with the Ministry of Agriculture, but also with the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of ICT, Ministry of Finance, the local cadastral agencies, but also the local space agencies, can really help us to make a difference in not only financial inclusion, and but also to ensure that access to markets remains available to small-scale farmers for the resilience, and also to make them more adaptable to climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. That was very interesting. And we lost you briefly in the middle, but I think we understood where you were going on digital public infrastructure, the regulatory areas, and the blockchain. So maybe, could I pass this now over to Marika to follow up?
Yes, for sure. And I hope the Wi-Fi here is stable. I'm calling in from Amsterdam, but actually the Internet of Europe comes here literally in cables, and still also here we have internet problems. So I hope the connection remains, and I think it's a good indication on the status of tech, right? So there's a lot of opportunity. Things go very fast, but some things don't go very fast. And I think if we see the current debate about AI and all the things that are possible, and how it's really changing the way how our administrative life looks like at the moment, I do think there's an important, there's a very significant challenge for agri-food, and it isn't climate change. I really think it's the adoption of technology and of Web3 technology. And for those who are unfamiliar with Web3, it stems from the blockchain discussions in the, I would say 15 years ago, so in the a little bit more earlier days. And I still think that there is a limited understanding of the real value of blockchain, because it has been, yes, I think, influenced by a lot of the crypto debates that we've all seen in the news, right? And where there is an Elon Musk who has a token, a coin that is called Dodge, and that has a ministry that is called Dodge, and that sort of raises questions that definitely impact on the expectations and the trust that people have in technology. So I think if we look at the current status and the challenge we have in agriculture, we need to adopt technology faster and better aligned. There is a lot happening. I think there is enough technology around, be it AI, be it quantum computing, blockchain, but we need to start adopting standards and adopting technologies in a more coherent fashion. If you look at big corporates, if you look at governments, there is a huge spaghetti of systems, of heritage systems, that limits good insights, so good intel on the current status of our food system and on the impact shocks will have in the immediate term and in the longer term. So I really would really like to call attention to the importance of data, aligned data and reliable data that has been verified and validated. And that's, as Gladys really nicely pointed out, that's where you do need a public open source infrastructure. And I think we don't have the time I really think we should start building bridges between the different infrastructures that are around in the world, right? I think that's my my core point on the current status.
Thank you very much, Marika. And Khulud, I know it's difficult being the last one to comment on the same thing, but over to you, please.
Sure, thank you so much. No, it's really exciting to be here again with you, Jackie, and to see you and the distinguished panels here. It's really exciting to be on this conversation. And it's interesting to hear some of the things that Hassan mentioned about the Ag LLM with UAE, because I'm actually directly involved in
Exactly. Yes.
the
Sorry for
program.
missing
Yes,
out on
exactly.
that.
So CG is really excited about training that model. I just wanted kind of to maybe complement what I heard from my colleagues about really the innovations and the different digital areas. I want to mention the area of job creation, where digitalization in agriculture, I think, has created a lot of attractive job opportunities, especially for young people, youth and women, through the value chain. And I think that's a very important part of the digitalization in the ag sector. I think it's how really it also opens jobs, especially if we want to attract more youth and women to be in digital agriculture. But also the contribution to equitable growth through a digitally transformed agriculture sector. I think we have a potential for equitable growth across. But at the same time, I want kind of, as all of this exciting, and of course there is tremendous amount of innovations these days with digital and AI and machine learning, whether for soil conservation, water management, productivity, etc. Still, I think, especially, for example, when it comes to training an LLM model, there's a number of I would say, barriers that we still need to think about them. And most importantly, I think it's really ensuring the data quality. When we started looking at what's really the potential of LLM, we know that it's huge, but without the data that has quality, verified, scientific, proved, it's going to be hard kind of to really get a full potential of a trained model, because you want really to trust a model that's going to give an advice to farmer. So data is still a big barrier. Like, how can we make sure that the data, whether CG in the sector, etc., is really AI ready and of the highest quality, and how you maintain that quality of pipeline of data to continue to train models to solve more problems with digital. The other part is, because of the complexity and the multifaceted of these areas, it's always require really an ecosystem of partnership, because at the end, to really ensure we have an inclusive and equitable digitization, that is going to require making those capabilities part of the public good or the public kind of infrastructure. And that requires huge partnership, because while we know something is public, it doesn't mean it's free. It doesn't mean it does not require investment. And that's why there is absolutely a major need for, of course, partnership, whether it's to standardize, to make the data interoperable, or to ensure that you have an open access LLM that provides reliable, specific advice. That require really major partnerships, and we're just also testing the flavor of that in this Ag LLM. We're collaboratively training using data from CG, but also we're bringing the entire kind of World Bank, World Food Program, IFAD, FAO, etc., because we know all of this data is needed and the partnerships are needed, whether on public, private sector, in addition, of course, to research. And then, of course, when it comes to the digital and AI and also blockchain, how you really scale them responsibly. And that's become a major, actually, challenge when you want to really scale, is how can we ensure that we're going to scale and keep AI or this digitization in a responsible and inclusive way. And that was going to require a number of frameworks that need to be developed and incorporated, and also taking into account the local context, local language, for example, if we want to really make those AI tools work in the local context. And of course, there is the policy implications, of course. As we can imagine, UAE, I think, is a great example of a government that really goes behind the digital transformation and how it's needed. But that is also another big element to really ensure the scale and the responsibility and the equitable growth using digitization and AI. So I just wanted to share kind of a few things that complement what my colleagues shared. Back to you, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Khulud. Can I stay with you and ask you, what are the short to medium term opportunity? Can you pick on one that would actually make technology become more inclusive? I'm not thinking of quantum computing here, but something really tangible and practical now. What do you think it would be?
I think it should start with establishing those kind of governance and legal frameworks to allow to tap into kind of data that is local. So I think those governance and legal framework are important. So you are not really in the way of accelerating AI. And we don't really need to start from scratch. I think FAO and other agencies, World Bank, they have been working on a number of legal and governance frameworks. So how can we adapt them so they can work for AI, for example, or data? So establishing that strong or good governance and legal framework will allow us to really move faster. And also the capacity building strategies. I think without ensuring that we're building capacity in the areas where we work and prioritize it as kind of a national and institutional capacities to address issues like the digital literacy and sustainable business models for sharing and utilizing data, for example. So that is another one to start with and to think about. But also, let's be honest, tech companies are usually faster. They work at light speed. And we should try to leverage that if we really want to be kind of faster. How can we quickly establish collaboration and meaningful collaboration with tech companies and align that collaboration to the challenges and the global challenges that we're trying to solve as organizations? Tech companies, they develop models, let's say, that works in general. They are not necessarily going to focus on what we call it last mile. I think making that technology work for that last mile is what organizations like ours need to do. So how can we focus? And that's why I like to go back to the Falcon model, because it's developed. It's a great open source model. It's really up there, and but it required kind of agriculture organizations to really take it and make it work for the ag context, for example. So how can we really do more of this? and leverage on a lot of the innovations that is already existing in the tech sector and take it to advance the missions. Also, investment in infrastructure is a big aspect because it all boils down to really having appropriate infrastructure so you can really address any digital divide. Otherwise, the gap is going to continue to be bigger. And actually, if we don't really invest in that infrastructure in the global south and the public digital public good infrastructure, we also kind of by default or by design, we're not going to be able to have an inclusive growth and digitization for the ag sector. So infrastructure continues to be a big one, and how can we also continue to develop policies that will enable and speed up the adoption of these technologies and leveraging them for solving problems. So I know they don't seem to be very tactical, but they are foundational steps to really get the full potential of digitization and AI.
Thank you very much, Khulud. So then let me move to Marika. You mentioned that you thought the biggest threat to agriculture is not the climate change that everyone is talking about.
Yeah.
How do we build those stronger partnerships to solve the problem that you're about to talk about?
Yeah, exactly. And this really boils into the last point of Ulud on infrastructure and adoption, right? I think there is a willingness to have and build partnerships, but the current business models and frameworks limit that level of collaboration that we really need. I notice this on a day-to-day basis, and I think while the UN and like really global institutes are developing a lot of important stuff, I see in real life that the adoption of the private sector to work with those building blocks, so to say, is really lacking because there's disconnect. And one thing that was earlier mentioned is maybe sort of the pace, right? Government and UN and research, they have longer timelines and they have slower cycles. But I think we really need to put priority to making those two work. In the Netherlands, there has been for years the discussion that, you know, we really need to work government, private sector, and civil society as one in order to progress. And I think what we're seeing in the world is that it's creaking, right? It's I don't know the proper English, but there's friction everywhere, right? There's a lot of friction where the word that we used to sort of love in blockchain was frictionless. And I think if we look around us, doesn't matter wherever you are, I think this is recognizable for everyone in the call. There's so much friction today. And my core conclusion from 25 years of working in agriculture and technology and digitization is start with the now. Don't make it too complex. Don't make it too large, too big. Just look at what is happening today and look at small changes. I think if there's one thing we can learn from the private industry or private, I would say, modes of working is don't be overambitious on the long term. Really focus on today and what you can do with the people that you work with. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. And I think, yeah, I'm inviting, I would say, everyone in the call from research and governments, you know, work with the private sector and really take little steps. I think that's what partnership is about, right? And what also help, and I'm not sure if this is politically correct, but more diversity on the workplace helps for more collaboration.
Thank you, Marika. Fully agree.
Nice.
So in all those things we've been talking about, whether it's adoption, infrastructure, frameworks, it costs money. And Hassan, why is agri-tech not pulling the same traction from investments as other industries? Do you have any thoughts or solutions?
I don't have solutions. I'm looking for solutions, to be honest. But from what I could gather is the scalability while addressing the different segments in agriculture is different than other industries. And if you add to it the challenges that are specific to each region, to each language, to the hurdles that face different farmers in different parts of the world growing different crops, I think we have not yet found a solution that addresses it all. And what's happening today, and here I would address this to Dr. Khulud, is I see a lot of solutions, and we get targeted. You know, we're blessed being in the UAE because we're on the cross path of everybody going west and coming east. They all have to make a stop here while transitioning, and we get the chance to see most of these innovation being pitched to us. Is that I've seen till today I would say more than 3/4 of these solutions are being developed in offices and labs by tech professionals without the consideration of the people on the ground and the farmers. And this is where it's really not getting traction. That's one of them. The second thing is, if you go to a typical large-scale farm like the ones that we operate, today our growers or farm managers are bombarded by data that is coming in from the different data sources that we deploy on our farms to optimize our results. So we've tackled the problem of we now understand what's happening, but that farmer, his tractor, from his seeder, from his irrigation system, from foresights, and we're getting bombarded by these data, and it's still not interpretable in a sufficient way to optimize the output of it. So I go back again to Dr. Khulud, because she touched on very important points to that. And I think we lack today in the agriculture industry, in the agri-tech, a framework to capturing data, to classifying data, to cleaning data in a format that makes it easy for farmers around the world, for corporations like us as well around the world, to process this data in a way where we can get positive, actionable output of it. And it's still a learning curve. It's not helping. I think what's not helping is the attraction of funds that or like in the medical field it will attract, because the agriculture industry as a whole till today, funny enough, despite all the fear that we have about food security and lack of food, is really not performing. Anyone can go log in now online and check the performance of the biggest agriculture companies or food companies. Value is still not performing well. And I think it's a combination of all these factors together that is still delaying the progress of what is yet to come. But it will come, that's for sure. That's something I'm certain of, it will come.
Hassan, we've lost your voice now as well.
Sorry?
Have you finished? Your picture was frozen and then your voice disappeared too.
Okay, so I'm not sure what part did you catch me on? Because I did end up with a positive remark.
Can you repeat the positive remark?
I said that I'm certain that we will get to the point where agri-tech will pick up. The demand in the market catches up with the technologies that are there, and we will have a brighter future for agri-tech and sustainable food production.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for ending on a positive note. So Gladys, could I ask you future opportunities, short to medium term? We've heard several, and we know that investment is low, opportunity is high. What do you think is the one key opportunity that we can action in the short to medium term?
Thank you, Jacqueline. I mean, Khulud has actually provided a lot of the background for this question, and I think it's really important to recognize the fact that no actor will be able to do this on their own, and that those partnerships are really needed. And it's not partnerships for the sake of partnerships, but I'm also keeping an eye on the conversation that there is in the chat about the standards and about interoperability. Conscious of the fact that interoperability and international, adhering to an international standard is important. We attended a hearing at the Organization of International Standards last year and obtained for AgroWeb3 the qualification of international technical standard for blockchain-powered digital wallets, which I think is an important recognition, so that we work towards those, that standardization and interoperability. We're also working very closely with CGIAR. CGIAR is using some of the digital solutions that also IFAD and FAO are working on with private sector companies such as Identi in Mexico and other projects that CIMIT, one of the agencies of CGIAR, is implementing for the trade of cereals, but not only. And also with another initiative of CGIAR called My Farm's Trees, which is a digital platform developed within CGIAR, which aims to support farmers with their forestation and agroecology efforts by building incentives and payments for those incentives, working with major players in the digital space, such as Safaricom's M-Pesa in Africa. So it's through these partnerships that we can really work together and ensure. I really liked Khulud's intervention when she said that that we pay a lot of lip service to partnerships, but it is only when we sit down in those design tables and talk about interoperability and making sure that our platforms are talking to each other that we're really doing the work that is required for this to happen. So a lot of potential there for partnerships, but also a lot of work for us to do to ensure that those partnerships really happen in a tangible way that delivers results for our project participants. I cannot emphasize enough the role of digital public infrastructures for market access and for compliance. So ensuring that we are investing and working with governments to ensure interoperability, standardization, data quality, but also accessibility and affordability. Because, Hassan mentioned some of the barriers that we have currently in the market, and those barriers are very real. Some of the reasons why there is, lack of investment in agriculture is because those barriers are so high to reach that marginalized communities or communities that are living in faraway rural areas. So the barriers to entry are extremely high. To be able to compensate the return on financial investments with a return on development impact, we need to create also incentives for the private sector so that we are ensuring that they do make those investments, and that in international organizations, IFAD and other international financial institutions are supporting those investments so that the private sector has the necessary incentives to work in those areas. And the last thing is, of course, we cannot ignore the role of farmers in this social innovation. So ensuring that our the products that we design are farmer-centric, that they respond to the needs of farmers, that they're taking into consideration the barriers that they have, whether they have to do with literacy skills or digital skills or language, ensuring that we are providing these advisory services that are AI powered in their local languages, and even in Aboriginal languages is extremely important. We tend to prefer voice messages rather than text messages, for example, and to be able to develop platforms that respond to structural barriers such as the lack of internet. So making sure that we can also develop services through USSD, and other technologies that allow us to work also without internet connectivity. So again, partnerships, investments in digital public infrastructures, and ensuring that we are developing products that are farmer-centric and that are addressing their needs, but also the challenges that they have in rural areas. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Gladys. As I was listening, I was thinking, you know, when there is an emergency or a really urgent need, M-Pesa, vaccine tracking, vaccination tracking, India, the utilization of digital currency. So when there's a real push, we get there. The product we need is there and we adopt it. Agriculture, I have a feeling sometimes it's because crops, animals, fish to a lesser extent, they take so long. So an experiment takes forever. Whereas in the digital world, it's just really quick. So Marika, how can we improve the rate of tech adoption in agriculture?
Yes, great question, right? Again, I think the answer to that is pretty simple and straightforward. It's getting clarity in the offers that are out there, because even from a farm perspective, right? I know farmers here in the Netherlands and in Kenya and in different whatever setting, there are different digital solutions available, and it's difficult to make the right decision. And when you make a decision, to use it right. So I think there is a lot in education, and I think there's a lot in demystifying technology, right? I think if you look around you, on one hand, you have those who are really embracing tech as in, to making our lives more efficient, more reliable, more robust. But there's a very big group amongst also a lot of people in the agri-food industry that find it daunting, that feel that they missed out, that they're too late, that they don't know enough to really sort of gain the information that they need. So I think there's a huge role for everyone, so individuals and organizations for all strands of the economy, to make technology very accessible. I think that's the core challenge that we have. And a very addressable one, right? So I definitely agree. I'm super positive on the future of agriculture. And often, you have this term of leapfrogging. I think, although today agri-food is still the least digitized industry, I hope that we can conclude in 5 years' time that it's the most digitized industry and the best digitized, because the tech of today is so much better than the tech of 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, 2 months ago. Yeah. So adoption and education.
I agree with you, because I was just thinking a very simple example, that the data and information is available for consumers on barcodes,
Yes.
QR codes, but there's a gap between
Yeah.
any digital work we're doing in the field and what's available from the supermarket shelf. So Hassan, how can we bridge this gap? How can we get tech adopted in agriculture? And maybe can you turn your camera off so your voice is really clear?
Yes, sure. It's a difficult question to address, knowing that it's already in the move. This thing has already started, the adoption. We can see now driven by demand, by consumer demand, by awareness of the end user, the adoption is being trickled down the value chain. And I think this will be the main factor in adoption of technology, is the consumer awareness, the demand by consumers for traceability, demand by consumers for the education of consumers about sustainability, the impact of the product that they're eating on the environment, on the people that are producing it, on making sure that their produce on their like the farm gate prices are fair to them. And this is what will drive the demand on these solutions that will make aggregators across the whole supply chain adopt them. And with more adoption, I think we will not only solve the short-term solution, we'll also be solving a lot of the long-term solution, which is the fair distribution of food globally, fixing our food systems, eliminating the biggest catastrophe that we have, which is the food wastage that's coming. That's today, I think we all agree, somewhere around 30% of what we produce goes to waste. So once we have that traceability, once we have that overall view of what's being produced, how it's being consumed, where it's being consumed, I think we can update our supply chains and the overall food system so that we can also eliminate the waste that's happening. We have a better distribution of the resources that are being put into the food input, and we focus on produce that have a better conversion ratios of the natural resources required to produce them. That's my view to the point.
Thank you very much. So, Gladys, what do you think is the solution from your or IFAD's point of view to get this tech adopted?
So I would not say, you know, it's more than my personal opinion is based on some of the research that we have carried out with our design and implementation partners. IFAD commissioned a study from Grow Asia a few years ago about how to, you know, what was working in terms of supporting adoption and use of technologies. And there was a message that was very, very clear, and it went beyond user centricity and making sure that when we are developing products, we are being farmer centric. It went into having a really clear understanding of the dynamics within communities, in the communities that we aim to use these technologies, and ensuring that you had the buy-in of lead farmers, but also that you were building that capacity in the community so that youth were participating in the programs. This creates a dynamic of intergenerational collaboration, but also ownership from the communities, because you're working with the lead farmers, but at the same time building, you know, creating job opportunities and building capacity in those communities with the local youth. So the proposition was to not use external people for the advisory services, but actually to train the local youth so that those advisory services could be provided by them, and also the adoption of the technologies for many different reasons that I won't have time to go into, but you can imagine what the dynamics, the behavioral dynamics have to contribute to support adoption and use when you're working with the communities and ensuring that their incentives to collaborate and work together with us are enhanced by also offering opportunities job creation and for that youth to stay in rural areas rather than migrating to the cities. So those dynamics are quite beneficial to support adoption and use of these technologies. I would also emphasize again the role of digital public infrastructures for sustainability, because if you have the involvement of the government, that also creates the basis for scalability and sustainability in the long term. We have a term for this within international development organizations, which is called pilotitis. You know, all of us go into these programs and we invest, and then, you know, and Khulud actually mentioned this, the difficulty that we have moving from pilots to scale is very, very real. So it's through partnerships like the one that we have built with the IFIs, but also with CGIAR and other UN agencies called Moonshots for Development. This alliance is really working together so that we can test the solutions and then scaling up together through the establishment of a new financing facility that we are in the process of designing and will be launching hopefully very, very soon. Then it has been mentioned before, but I cannot emphasize enough the role of farmer training and digital literacy. So we need to continue investments in farmer training and digital literacy, but also in gender and youth inclusion in digital agriculture. We still have regulation, local regulation, but also a lack of capacity to ensure that youth and women are properly included in our programs and ensuring that they are adopting and using the technology. It goes beyond affordability and it goes beyond access. It has to do with some of the social norms in some contexts, but it also has to do with regulation. There are many situations where women are still not allowed to have a land title, even when they have proved that they have been working the land for over 15, 20, or 25 years. So those support so that those policies change is actually very, very relevant. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. Now, if I could turn to Khulud. You've been working in the IT sector for a long time, and you've been trying to get technologies adopted and getting other people to try and get the technologies adopted. How do you think, maybe within the context of the CGIAR, for example, how could more and more technologies be adopted faster? Khulud, to you.
Sure. Well, actually, I think it's both for CG or for organizations, but also for the work we do. I like to use a term that we can use AI for AI. Like, for example, today, when we're talking about digital literacy for farmers, it was much harder to train a farmer how to use, for example, an advisory tool. Today, with generative AI powered tool, like you turned the technology to be conversational. You're removing a lot of barriers. Even if somebody doesn't know how to write and read, they don't really need to learn that much technical skills because the technology is getting closer to the human. So generative AI, for example, could help us accelerate adopting technology because it makes the adoption rate, the learning, the way you will use technology makes it conversational, which could by itself accelerate so many things. The same thing, we can look also at AI. Let's say we have challenge with data, how you make data AI ready. Actually, there is a lot of AI techniques that could help you get the data AI ready or close gaps in data or make sense of data that is from non-traditional sources, even for scientists. So we have to also think, and that's a part of a digital transformation beyond just, of course, what we need to deliver, but also how we change the way we work. For us, for example, as a science organization, there's tremendous opportunity for what AI could do to accelerate science delivery, because we know with science we can solve problems of today and tomorrow. So if we think of what AI means for a science organization, we have to think how we deliver science in the coming years. And it's not sci-fi when we say the future of science is you have your scientists, but you also have your AI agents who actually help do a lot of the predictive analytics, They become part of your team. They become part of your lab, let's say. So that also could absolutely accelerate, let's say, the science. So you can use it to accelerate adoption. You can use it to accelerate science and impact. And also you can use it to really quickly get the data ready. So I like to think of that concept of how can you use this technology to really leverage it fully. The other part, I wanted to go a little bit to where I always did not like the concept of change management. Although whenever we say we're doing transformation, etc., everybody says you have to pay attention to change management. And I always argued that. I was like, if I need, like, if I already understood your problem and I'm using digital transformation or digital innovation to solve this problem, then when I bring you a solution, why I need to change your behavior? That means I did not really capture your problem correctly, or the solution is not intuitive enough that you will adopt it immediately. Because if it was problem driven and user driven, then by the time we get you the solution, it should be immediately adopted, and there should not be that much barriers that, oh, I have to convince you now to use it. And that's why there is, I know we overemphasize sometimes that we have to be user-centric, a human-centered design, and problem-driven. I think it's the same thing even for attracting, let's say, investments, because when a company or a technology, they develop a product, they don't develop it just say, oh, there's something cool we're going to do with AI. They look for a customer, a problem in the market that this product can solve it. And that's how you get investments in it, because there is a market for it. There's a customer. It solves somebody's problem. Somebody's going to willing to be paying for it. So I think it's a similar kind of models that we can also adapt. But for us, if we really want to advance, we have to also think of how we transform the way we work, even as organizations dedicated to ag sector, because we cannot just be pushing the innovation on the tools and the innovation in the science, but not also adapt how we work as an organization. So I see them really important and complementing. And yeah, I think we have an opportunity with generative AI in particular. I'm kind of, it's mind-blowing for me how much you can use it to even accelerate transformation compared to previous technologies that I had to deal with as a technology leader in getting people adapting. I think generative AI making it absolutely fascinating of how quickly you can make technology useful, almost out of the box. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. Can I just briefly add on to that? Because it's so exciting. I think if you look at today, right, where even for programming, you don't need to have a hardcore programming background. You can even, AI makes programming so much more accessible. So think about the implications of that. And I think if there's ever been a time to really drive technology right into agriculture, it's now. Because on one hand, technology is cheaper, it's easier to use, it's super it becomes more interoperable by the minute. And I think something that we maybe did not discuss enough yet is really the regulatory push for traceability. Because for the first time, farmers have a very strong incentive to start working on a digital product passport, because they get a better price for their goods. Before it was, why should I use this farm application? Yes, you can sort of increase your yields, but that becomes a very sort of theoretical discussion. Whereas now, if you adopt tech and you get a solid digital passport where you can prove that your crop is deforestation free, or whatever regulatory framework, it really increases your market access. So I think there's a huge opportunity for farmers and definitely smallholders to start adopting tech. So I think the window of opportunity is today.
Thank you for that. I think time is going on, and there'll be one more question for all of you from me. But I was just thinking, I want you to talk to me about the vision for the future, but also addressing risks and weaknesses. Because as I was listening to you all, I could think of areas which went terribly wrong, such as GMOs. Those who know about GMOs are perfectly happy. Those who don't aren't necessarily. And I can imagine those who've used chatbots were questioning, are they AI, are they machine learning, or are they just useless because you always hold for the human being? And concerns about security of the systems, because if someone hacks and you get the wrong information for a very necessary question, you're going to have no confidence in any of this technology. So, Hassan, a vision for the future, short and sharp, any weaknesses, any risks that you see?
There will always be risks. Agriculture is one of the riskiest businesses in the world. So I think all farmers or people from the industry understand risk and they cope well with it. Technology will always be here to support. It will not replace. It will just help farmers do their jobs better, at least in the coming short period of adaptation. It's a tool to enhance. It's a tool to better production. It's a tool for enhanced sustainability. It will not replace the farmer. It will not replace the know-how. And this is something that we should always consider because the risks will increase. Now, today, in any farm, you have a connected farm sometimes talking to each other. So the risks from cyber attacks are huge as well. And it's just adding another layer of complexity. And I think this is maybe one of the reasons we didn't mention earlier about why people are resistant to the adoption. However, farmers are resilient and we need to grow food. We need food. Food don't grow in supermarkets. And we need to just live with it, adapt to it, and get on with it. I can go on if you'd like me to. I thought you wanted to be short.
Yes, sorry, you went silent again on us, but thank you for that. I'm glad you see a way out. Khulud, risks, weaknesses, how can we get it absolutely right? Your vision for the future?
Sure. I'm always on the optimistic side when it comes to technology. But because I also know that anything in the world always have two sides. Even a knife you use to cut and cook, it could be a weapon. So it's in the way we use it as humans. So for me, a really bright vision I see in the future is if we stay human-centric, we focus on the farmers, the scientists, the humans, and keep AI in the loop and not vice versa. If we manage to keep our, for example, in an LLM, that's where I see a comparative advantage for CG, for example. We're not the technologists. There's brilliant teams like the Falcon and others who are building amazing technology. So it's on the scientists to really ensure the reliability of science, the validation of those models, so we can ensure it's really giving the right advice for a farmer vulnerable for climate change. So I am positive, and I think we have huge potential for AI and Gen AI to help us accelerate as a sector and catch up with the world, not just the rest of it. But we have to keep the human at the center and keep AI in the loop.
Thank you, Khulud. And Gladys, humans first or AI and digital first?
Well, I don't think that we can afford answering a question where one can do without the other. So we are in an era that we learn to live. We need to learn to live with these technologies, and I think that the challenge is not so much on whether we should support the development, but rather how we adapt quickly to the development of these tools and ensure that they remain accessible. in the case of IFAD, to small scale farmers, but also that we're making the best and most ethical use of them. I think that is super important when you talk about challenges. I think that is super important that we address the fact that that we risk digital exclusion and widening inequalities if we're not working with these technologies to ensure their accessibility and affordability, and ensuring that they're also designed for rural and low-tech users. That's a responsibility that we take on our shoulders to ensure that that doesn't happen. I think that there is a challenge that remains very, very valid today, which is data privacy and cybersecurity risks. It's not only about ensuring that we are building capacity in digital skills and literacy skills, we also need to ensure that we create protocols and that we leverage on technologies such as Web3 so that the protection of data and digital identities happens a priori. We have failed tremendously trying to make it a regulatory matter and trying to look for implementation of measures after a data breach has happened. It cannot happen anymore. We really need to invest in Web3 technologies and making sure that that happens so that we can protect the digital identity and the data privacy of those that are less equipped to defend their own rights. And the other challenge is, of course, market manipulation and the dependency on big tech. I think that we need to balance the playing ground and ensure that these AI-driven marketplaces are not controlled only by a few corporations that could increase price volatility and reduce the farmers' autonomy. So it is also, we play a very significant role in ensuring that price information, market information is available, and that we support those companies in the private sector that are making this information available. Again, for standardization, interoperability, our role as international organizations is to ensure that those transactional and operational costs are low, so that there are incentives for both the private sector, but also for farmers to join these platforms and have access to this information. So I see a lot of opportunities. You know, that the moment that you see a challenge, you see, I see an opportunity for us to work together and ensure that we are filling those gaps.
Thank you. Thank you, Gladys. Marika, can I give you the last few words, couple of minutes?
Yes, what an honor. What an honor. Yes. I think of everything that has been mentioned, everything starts and ends, as was mentioned in the chat as well, is data quality and the reliability of data. Because if we don't know what the data is, if we can trust it, then your protection and everything else becomes a non-issue. So I think really the core risk is that we forget, in the whole excitement about technology, to really build a solid infrastructure where data is publicly validated, where you know at least that certain agencies attest on certain claims and data validity. I think that's really the core takeaway for me for the past 25 years. And that's more valid today than yesterday because of AI. And that's the whole discussion, right? On, do we trust AI? Can you trust technology? It really stands and falls with the quality and the validity of validated data. And that's where we have, I think, a really strong infrastructure with many agencies and a lot of experience to really make it happen. And we need to nail that in, I think, 1 year, 2 years. I think our window of opportunity is small, but it's there and it's solid, and we have everything what we need. We have enough creativity. We have enough. Investment is an issue, right? I do definitely agree on that discussion. But I do think that everyone is realizing now we need mixed funding and we need mixed funding instruments to make it happen. But I think humanity is very capable of nailing that challenge, and we need to focus on the data quality.
Thank you very much, Marika. As I was looking at the notes I'd made, just to wrap up, inclusive tech, open, digital, open digital public infrastructure, the regulatory environment, the governance, the frameworks, the business models, the behaviors, humans first, leaving AI as a tool. There is so much we've talked about and so much that we need to continue to discuss. As I look at the chats, I'm sorry that we've not responded to everything. The panel has been in there responding when they can. So thank you for that. And if there's unanswered questions, we'll get to them. So thank you to everyone for your time. The audience first, thank you. I know that it's early morning, late at night. Really appreciate you joining us. And there will be another webinar from the World Agriculture Forum in a month's time. The audience was so engaged, and I was proud to be able to moderate this. Thank you so much to Gladys Morales, to Marijke de Ruyter de Wield, to Khulud Ode, and Hassan Halawi. Thank you so much. It was fun, friendly, and time went too fast, I must say, as we're at time now. So I will close. Please keep in touch, and wishing you all a very pleasant day ahead, evening ahead, night ahead, whichever it is, whichever time zone you're in. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you to the panel. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so
Bye.
much to the audience for all the contributions. Thank you.
Definitely. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Buddy.